Hey everybody, Bill Flipper here, and it is a hot and humid day here in Pennsylvania, and we're right around about an hour from Philly, so it is super hot, super humid. So this is a quick thing, kind of like for beginners of how I got started. And I started into Amazon. I think I have a pretty good video on it, but this is kind of like the easiest thing, and the advice I give some people is try books. And you don't have to do it for long, but I think it is a good way to scale. And I always, one of my things here is I try to minimize, like if it turns out you don't like it, I try and minimize it, the cost, because so many people ask me how to do it, so many people talk to me, and I try to point them to give them the basis of it and just point them to resources like either my videos or there's lots of other videos on there. And if they take action and come back, well then I'm totally cool with helping them more. But so much of the information, like I just basically taught myself. And then I learned a little bit from each video. I did meet some people, like my cousin's boyfriend was doing it, so I kind of saw what he was doing. But I mean, most of this I just watched videos, read about, it, and taught myself, and found places to source. So I started with thrift stores and books, and this is a great way to start because it's very cheap. Now I don't know, I haven't been in the book game for a long time. But basically, you go into a thrift store, there's lots of videos on it. You have a little scanner. It is a Bluetooth scanner, and you have it hooked up to software. And you scan the barcodes, and you scan them as fast as possible. And it alerts you if the price of the book is selling for much more on Amazon. And then you create Prime shipment. And it's a really good way, even if you just do it for a month, to learn the process of doing an FBA order, to kind of understand the charts and all those things, understand what Keepa is. And again, you could send in a book order without even a pro account. Like I even tell people don't get a pro account. I tell them maybe get Keepa, because again, I try to make sure, unless they've done eBay or they're a little bit further along and they're like, this is something I definitely want to do, or I have experience, maybe my brother does it, I kind of know the whole deal, then I'm willing to kind of help them out. But if I'll recommend the softwares, but I don't even tell them to get Inventory Lab. Do your first shipment through Seller Central, because it's nothing worse than to tell someone to buy. I don't want to tell them to buy $500 worth of software. They sell two things, then give up. There's no reason to do that. That's such a waste of money, and I would much rather you do it slow, and then say, "Whoa, I, this is a great story. This is like kind of what got me hooked onto Amazon." I went to a thrift store. I scanned a religious book, and I think I bought it for $1, and it read back like $50 in profit. And I created an FBA shipment. I probably only sent in like 10 books, but I was learning the process, and I sent it in. And then one day I opened up my Seller Central app, and I sold it for like some ridiculous, like 50 or $60. So it might not have been $50 profit, it might have been 38. So it was like, I turned $1 into $38. I was like, wow, like I was just so shocked it worked. And it kind of brings back the story of it. So I would go to like thrift stores all day long. It is completely not scalable. And some people do the bulk business, but basically it was kind of like doing the proof of concept and building within that. And you can go to book sales. You don't really make any money doing it, but the you can make some, but like if it gets into like traveling for it, and you can make like 400 or 500 bucks at a book sale, especially if I would reach out to libraries, and like some of them, what was so weird, like I have one, they would have like a monthly book sale, and then they would have a yearly one. So you could basically come in while they're getting ready for the yearly one and hit them up like 2 weeks before. And like they've been prepping for the yearly one for a few months. And you could scan basically all their yearly stuff for the big sale a month before anybody got there. So, and then of course they do get more leading up to the event. But the point is, I would try to find ways so I could almost be the first person or only one picking through it. And I've made some really good book sales, and you can definitely make bank. But again, it's a pain in the butt. The books are heavy. Books can be dusty. It's not fun, but it is a great way to learn the process. And if you have only, 50 bucks to start, it is a great way to turn that. If you only take books that can 4x your money, I mean, you're going to turn that 50 into 200, and you will. I've sold some crazy, crazy books, and I've sold. I was trying to think back, and like, you just get such a high return. Like books are crazy for the high return, and you don't have to put a lot down. Like I've definitely made 80, 100 bucks on a dollar book. That's profit. But so it's a cool process. It's fun learning. And like I said, you basically will learn to read a Keepa chart and stuff. Like with books, if they're only like a buck or less, I don't even look at the Keepa chart. I wouldn't anymore. But I'm not sure if it's still competitive. I've also heard like Amazon doesn't want to take up a bunch of warehouse space for used books. But again, it's a great way to start. The way you start, there's an affiliate link, but like I said, I've never made a dollar off of any of the affiliate links. Hopefully one day somebody uses them. But you're welcome if you get value to use them if you're going to use the service anyway. Um, you get Scout IQ, you get a Bluetooth scanner, and you always download it every time you're going to go out to scan something called database mode. And you just pick a thrift store. The other tip is nonfiction. So think of anything mass produced, like mass produced paperback. You don't want to touch that. You want like nonfiction, like things that teach you how to build stuff. Certain textbooks, like the newer one, educational. And I know textbooks have like problems with counterfeit claims, but you can still think in that frame. Think in the frame you're learning to do stuff. Art books, religious books. Um, Building books, gardening books. Those are all types of things that would be my first look. Certain big coffee table books. And there certainly are hardcover fiction, but anything, if you think of the big, like, I can't think of one of those authors, like, Stephen King, something like that. Those books are so massively produced that they're not worth any money. But if you get like a, book on like, 1800s architecture in Germany, that book is something I would look at and try to see it. And then you can use the ISBN scan. So there's a lot more in-depth videos on it, but I'm just saying if you're starting, it's something to try, it's something to look at, especially if you're day one starting. It's like 40 bucks for the scanner. In theory, you could just use your cell phone to picture thing, but you won't be able to do it quick enough. But if you got proof for your seller account, you could go around the house, scan some books, you could lift some merchant fulfilled, and and you could kind of get going and at least see if you like the process. Maybe you make 38 bucks in profit on a dollar, you get hooked like me, and you scale it up. But it is certainly, and one thing I don't recommend is buying books blind. Some people are like, oh well, I'm buying nonfiction books and they're heavy and they look expensive, but I'm not scanning them. I'm only paying a dollar. That's not a good way to go. And if you get good at books, you can absolutely reach out on Facebook. You can offer like free book pickup. Sometimes that's completely a waste of time, but nonetheless, you can do it. Or you can look maybe talk to college kids again. You may want to stay away from the textbooks. I know people have issues with like counterfeit claims, and you may not want to get into that. But you absolutely can reach out to people, find people online. I found places like pickups where they were like old college teachers. So, and they were moving or something or retiring. So it wasn't college textbooks. It was all like complex, like, different historical and mathematical books, and they did very well, that were no longer printed. So you can certainly reach out, talk to family members, talk to friends, and say I'm doing this. And if you have any extra books, let me check them out. Now, you'll of course have to find a place to get rid of them, so you can donate them to Goodwill. Certain thrift stores do scan them first, but it still would be worth checking out. Sometimes smaller thrift stores do better, like not national chains like Goodwill. And just because Goodwill scans them, you have to understand maybe first shift scans them really good, but second shift comes in and they're like, I'm not scanning anything, I'm just putting them out. So you can still find gems in there. But depending on how solid your local store scans, and you can go to the bins. There are bins in many states, so there's like mass piles of stuff, unsorted goods from Goodwill. So those are all options, and I think books are completely a good way to get in. Again, maybe just for a month. just learn the process, flip your cash. I mean, this is a lot of people always are like, oh, I started with $100. It's a very hard business to start with $100. But if you can turn that $100 into 500 or 1,000, you're going to be much better off. You'll know the process and you'll know how to do a shipment, and then you can move in. I think the next move is like RA. That would be something great. And again, you've confirmed that, hey, this is something I do, this is something I like. So if I had to start over, I would still do books for a little bit. Um, and again, like I said, maybe only for a month, but you can go if you live in like probably a larger. Also, if you think about it, this is in general. What thrift stores, what free places, things like that are better? The wealthier parts of town. Just because they have not just more books, but they probably have, the thrift stores that are in a more expensive part of town or a more expensive city are always better because the people who donate them have wealthier and usually by rule of thumb have better stuff. So like I said, if you live in a college town, it might work really good. Like we have a college probably like an hour away. So, so those are all really good options. Those are things you can do. So books are not a bad way to start. There's so much, it's so easy to do. I mean, there's really no thinking. There's no really reading keep. But if you're only paying 50 cents a buck a book, you can just scan it. If it turns green, you can set your profit thing and then, it's just calculating. You can check the sales. And so that's all I have for today. So books are still a viable way to start and to learn the process. And I hope if you're just starting out, I hope you stick with it. Or if you don't, I hope you find something you like better. So that's all I have for today. Everybody, keep hustling. Thanks for watching. See ya.